All right, welcome back. So we're going to go over chapter 2 of your textbook, your Creswell text. So let me open this up for you to view. Pardon me, sorry. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, well, so chapter 2 is titled Identifying a Research Problem. So as we discussed in your intro video and your overview video, that's what you're going to be doing. So be thinking about that as you read this chapter and go over this PowerPoint with me. Is you're going to be able to identify a research problem and you're going to write that statement of the problem section for your research study. Okay, so here are the learning objectives that you're going to learn. Um, Researchers begin a study by identifying a research problem that they want to focus on. So that's what I want you to do. Think about a problem that you want to focus on. This problem is stated in the opening of the study. Okay, it's the very opening. It gives the reader the rationale for why the study is important and then why you need to read it. Okay. So, next, research problems are the issues in education or controversies or concerns that guide the study overall. So, remember that. They are the issues in education, they're controversies that we face today, or any type of concerns that we face as educators. It's just in your everyday setting. So, you can be thinking of things that come across your daily life in your educational field. Such things could be like maybe classroom disruptions, like behavior problems, school violence. Now, that's a big issue. Maybe lack of parental involvement. You want more parents to get involved with their child's education. So, what you do as an author, you state that research problem as a single sentence or several shorter sentences in your report. And that's just the research problem. That's not your statement of the problem of your paragraph, okay? Just the problem statement. So next, you're going to learn how to locate where a research problem is in the articles. By now, you may have already read those 3 articles on teacher stress, and you've had to go in, and one of your assignments is you're going to have to identify what those research problems are and compare them, okay? So whenever you're trying to figure out where a research problem is in a study, ask yourself 4 questions. Number 1, what issue or problem existed that the researcher wanted to address? Okay. Number 2, is there a controversy that leads to the need of this study? And if there is, that's your research problem. Number 3, what concerns are being addressed? Okay, if there's some concerns, that's your research problem. Number 4, is there a sentence that starts something like this? The problem being addressed in this study is, well, that's obvious. That's your research problem. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Okay, so the problems are found in the introduction section of your study. They are included in the section titled Statement of the Problem. Okay? Specifying the research problem sets the focus of the entire study. Without the research problem, the reader wouldn't know why the study is relevant and why they even should read the study. So, some known educational issues that you might want to research. I'm sorry, what are some educational research issues? What are some educational issues that you might want to research? Think about that. I want you to write those down because that's going to maybe be one of the ideas that or topics you're going to study for your research study because you're going to have to pick. So, like we talked about school violence, maybe teacher stress, like those articles, academic achievement gaps. That's kind of what my dissertation looked at. And maybe there's like college readiness after high school. So, those are just a few to kind of jog your brain to start thinking. But I want you to ask yourself, what are some issues? Write them down, and then maybe pick one of those for your research study. Okay? Now, to better understand research problems, we need to better understand other components of a research study because some of them kind of like sound familiar, so it might be a little confusing. So first, research problems are different from a research topic. We'll look at that here in a bit, what a research topic is, but they're broad subjects addressed by the study. And then your research topic is more broad, then your research problem is more narrow. Okay? Research problems are different from the purpose or intent of this study. So this is located in the purpose statement section. The research purpose is used to address the problem of the study. So that's the purpose of the study. Okay, the problem. It's just identifying um, that. Research problems are different than research questions, which are also located in the purpose statement section. So the purpose statement section has many components comprised within it. Okay, it has your research questions, it has your purpose, the intent of your study, and then also the problem. Okay, so these research questions narrow the purpose into specific questions that the researcher is addressing. So you just keep bringing it more narrow. So think of like an inverted triangle. Okay, the research problem needs to stand on its own because it represents the problem being addressed in the study. So here's a good diagram of that. Um, So if you, it goes from general to specific. You have your topic, and let's say your topic is distance learning. So then you want to think about, okay, what problems do we have with distance learning? Well, how about the lack of students enrolled in online classes? Why aren't there so many, kids enrolled on these, or adults enrolled on these online classes? And so then you could go to a purpose statement. Well, the purpose of the study is why students do not enroll in online classes at a community college. What's keeping them from doing that? Okay, to study why. And then a question that you might ask is, does the use of internet deter students from enrolling in class? So is that an issue? That could be one of the research questions. You could have many. Okay. Next, just because you can conduct a research study doesn't necessarily mean that you should conduct a research study. If you have access to participants in a research site as well as time, resources, and skills needed to conduct the study, then you can research that problem. Okay? If you can add to the existing literature that's already there and current educational practices by conducting a study that is new and will add value, then you should conduct that research on that given problem. Okay, so those are questions that you should ask yourself when you're thinking of a topic to study. Not all topics should be studied, and that's okay. Okay, next. Here are 5 ways to assess if your study should be a problem that you should research. Number 1, study the problem if it would fill a void by covering topics not addressed in current literature. Number 2, study the problem if it can be replicated to apply to a broader database by examining more participants and more research sites. This especially is important with quantitative studies because it'll provide new knowledge at those different sites. Okay? Number 3, study the problem if it will allow a more thorough and deeper examination of the research topic to better understand it. Number 4, study the problem if it will give a voice to the marginalized. So, for instance, like your homeless population, women, racial groups, things like that. And then the last one, study the problem if it will identify new techniques or technologies, recognize value of historical or current practices, or a necessity of changing current teaching practices. Okay? So that's 5 ways to assess whether or not you should study your research problem. Okay, so now, once you identify a research problem, you've chosen what the problem is. Now you're going to decide if you're going to do a quantitative or qualitative approach. And don't skip this part, okay? This is very crucial to the development of the methodology section of your research paper. So it's going to be based upon what's best for the different characteristics of your problem, okay? Now, you're going to do a quantitative approach if you need to explain or predict relations among variables, okay? Or do a qualitative approach if you're going to explore a problem in more depth, okay, brevity. So we have this diagram here. Once you've identified your research problem and you've chosen either qualitative or quantitative studies, Then it's time to write your research problem section, okay? And you're going to write that in a section called Statement of the Problem, okay? You include actual research problems when writing the statement of the problem, and you're going to have these 5 aspects. So these 5 aspects, like I discussed earlier in the overview video, are going to be a paragraph for each of your statement of the problem section. So you're going to have 5 paragraphs, and so the first one's going to be your topic. You're just going to explain the subject matter. What is your topic? Pretty easy. Okay. The second paragraph, your research problem. Okay. It's going to be a concern, it's going to be a problem, something that needs a solution. Okay. Then your next section is going to be your justification for the problem. You need evidence from the literature and evidence from practical experiences in this section. Your fourth paragraph is you're going to have a section that's going to be about deficiencies in the evidence. What in this body of evidence, what is missing? What do we need to know more about? Okay, so there's got to be a hole that needs to be filled. And so you need to explain that right here in this section. Okay, the last one is your audience. So who's going to benefit from this research study? Okay, so you're going to explain that, who those people are. A lot of times those people are researchers like yourself, educators like yourself, policymakers maybe like yourself, and just individuals of those that are actually in the study. They're going to benefit from it as well. Okay, so that's a good diagram of what it is that you're going to do to develop that section statement of the problem section. So let's go into those in more detail. Aspect 1 is the statement of the problem section as your topic, or you can consider this paragraph 1. It's introduced in the first paragraphs. Okay, the opening sentence of your statement of the problem section should gain the reader's interest. You state the broad topic that is easy for the reader to understand. That way, you bring the reader in slowly and encourage them to keep reading. We don't want to scare them off right in your first sentence, okay? Going further, the first sentence is called your narrative hook, and we've learned this, okay? It draws your reader's attention into the study, and it has certain characteristics. It's going to get your reader's attention. It's going to garner an emotional response, spark interest, and encourage them to read past the first page, okay? So a convincing narrative hook will have one or more of the following. It's going to include like statistical data, a thought-provoking question, a clear need for research, or the intent or purpose of the study, which all of them will have that. So the key idea to take away is that the study begins with an introduction to a topic that can be easily understood with a beginning sentence that creates interest. Okay? Okay. So next, aspect 2. This is the research problem, paragraph 2. Okay, so here you're going to state the research topic. You're going to narrow the topic to a specific research problem or issue. And it's presented in a sentence or a couple of short sentences. Okay, there are different types of research problems. Some emerge from issues or concerns discovered in school settings, and we call these practical research problems. Okay. Then there's other types of research problems that emerge because there's a gap in the current literature and extensive research needs to occur, and we call these research-based research problems. Okay, so this is the second part of developing the statement of the problem section. Is you're just going to tell us what the research problem is specifically. Okay, now we're going to justify it. So this is section 3, aspect 3. So you can't just state the research problem. You also need to give several reasons why that issue is important, okay? Justifying a research problem entails the presentation of reasons for the imperative nature for the issue or concern at hand, okay? So you're going to justify why is this even necessary. Your next section is your deficiency section. So what do we need to know, okay? What's not known out there? So you need to state why what we currently know about your research problem is deficient. A deficiency in the evidence means there's just not enough research on your topic. and that you can give 2 or 3 reasons why existing research is deficient in addressing the research problem, and state these reasons at the end of your introduction of the study. And you're going to do these in order, and that's going to be said in just a second. So you're going to write this in order. So this would be section 4, paragraph 4 of your statement of the problem section. Okay. And I want you to get used to writing it like that. That way I can see you're not skipping any components of your statement of the problem section, and that you're hitting every single one of those, and that I can just see that and then help you with that. In other research articles, you can just put it all together in one paragraph, and that's fine. But for this part of our research study, I want you to break it down into 5 paragraphs, okay? Okie dokie. So your final aspect of writing this section is your audience. So who's going to profit from reading this, okay? So the audience in the statement of the problem section will identify who's going to benefit from your study. Some examples can include, and we talked about this, your policymakers, educators, practitioners, other participants who are actually involved in the study. I don't know if I said researchers, but researchers. So just know that you need to identify, and you'll see that in those other articles, in those teacher stress articles, it does identify who their audience is for, okay? And some of these components may not be in some of those articles, and then you can see, well, that could be added to make that a more thorough study on how they should present that, okay? Okay, so next, one strategy to write your statement of the problem section is to visualize this as 5 paragraphs like we discussed. One being an aspect we just discussed. So you have your topic, your research problem, justification section, deficiency section, and then your audience section. You're going to write it in order and develop a flow map of ideas to start out with. So you could just write those 5 little sections and then just kind of give like a few ideas for each section and then write it all out, okay? So here is an example. So they have a topic, and that's your subject area. Your research problem is a concern or issue, or a problem is something that needs a solution. Then you need to justify it. So you need evidence from the literature to justify why your research study is needed. And then also your deficiency section. In this body of the evidence, what is missing or what do we need to know more about? And then you're going to figure out who your audience is, okay, and identify them. So an example could be parents' role in promoting access to college. That's your topic. Then you're going to get a little bit more narrow. Okay, so your research problem would be need for better access for students of color. So now we're going to look at specificalities of marginalized people. So it might, like we said, it could have been like you're homeless or you're women or ethnicity, things like that, okay, your race. Gender is another one. Mine looked at gender as well. So then justification. Past literature has documented poor attendance. So it's like, okay, it's needed here. It says it right here. Deficiencies. We need to evaluate how parents can promote access. So there's just not enough known about that. So that's why we're doing this, okay? And then your audience. So it's parents, counselors, and colleges could benefit from that, okay? So that's just an example for you. Okay, so now other strategies you can use when you're going to incorporate into writing your statement of the problem section. First, I want you to use frequent references within your introductory passage. So you're going to need to go out and you're going to need to find articles that give you support for your study, okay? And you're going to cite those sources in this section, okay? It's going to add a scholarly tone to your writing and provide references from others and not just your own opinion, okay? So it gives you more credibility. And so it builds credibility with your work, okay? So it's very important to do that. The next thing that you can do is like add statistical trends that support the importance of your study and your research problem. This is probably my favorite one. I like numbers, okay? So this is also especially important in your quantitative studies to do that. So you wouldn't necessarily have to do that if you're going to do a qualitative study. And then thirdly, you need to use quotes from participants in your study. Now, does that sound like that would be a qualitative or quantitative thing to do? Quotes from participants. Okay, remember, whenever you're doing qualitative studies, that's when you're going to be interviewing your participants and learning from them. So this would be more for a qualitative approach. Okay. Um, just be cautious though when using quotes from other studies, because especially in your first sentence, because it could be misconstrued by your reader. Okay. So that's that. So if y'all have any questions, please let me know. And I think what I'll do, I need to make a video to show y'all where to find scholarly articles. And then I also want to do a video to show you the formatting in Word and how I want that done. So let me get those done and uploaded for you. And so if y'all have any questions in the meantime, just let me know, and I'm here to help y'all. Y'all have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.